Welcome back this week, everybody, as we dive into our first part of our latest video game book club, Jusant!
Jusant!
Oh,
God.
Jusant!
That's not good. That's fine.
I don't know if you guys know, I've been to France, and it said Jusant!
Jusant.
I'll actually let the cat out of the bag of what my debate was last week. I was thinking about it, and I almost told Christian today, but I was like, yeah, I'll save it, and I'll just tell both of them together. So
You do this all the time. There's times where you will want to tell
I'll save it for the
Preston
podcast.
things, and you go, I'll save it for the podcast. And I'm like, okay.
well, it's not even safe for the podcast. I just didn't want to tell it twice, and I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, I'll just wait till Preston's there too. So Jusant came about because I wanted an easy-to-play, chill game. The other option, the Black Ops game, is going to be Black.
Oh, dude. That would
the
be
game
good.
Yeah, the game
Okay.
Black. I think that's gonna be my.
Fuck.
I think that's gonna be my next game we do play.
Okay.
Because I'll probably be in the mood. But yeah, I remember back in the day.
I'd be interested to
having-
see how that game holds up today, because, man,
So,
back in the original Xbox days, woo!
I
That was a
played that.
fucking technical masterpiece, dude.
I
see,
know.
man.
I played that with a college roommate on a modded Xbox, and I had some of the
you
best
did.
time with a destructive environment.
For free.
So yeah, just give everybody a preview. That will be my next pick.
Okay.
Will be Black, because I also have it, the OG version.
Okay.
So I can play that way. So I'm very excited.
I
about
think
that.
I actually have a copy of it.
I do. Not.
Yeah, wild. So anyway, I just wasn't in the mood the other day, and that's fine because this is going to be a short game, two-parter.
Yeah.
So this time around, we played the first part of Jusant,
Jusant.
made by the devs Don't Nod. Don't Nod has made a few games that I'm sure everybody here has heard of. They made Life is Strange in 2015. They made Vampire, the PYR one, VAMPYR. They made Life is Strange 2. And those are really the big ones. There's other stuff on there that people may know here and there, but like those are, everybody's kind of heard of Life is Strange, right? So this, this
I feel
was
like
a
this
game.
is going to be pretty short, because not a lot happens here.
Yeah, no, honestly, this will probably be relatively short. And honestly, the next one might be kind of short too. So it is a puzzle game. Came out 2023. I think I tried it in 2024.
a climbing game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, puzzle game, but it's climate. You're right. I was
I
gonna
have
get
some
there.
takes
I was gonna
about
get
this
there.
game.
I was gonna get there. So Press, I know you tried it last year. I tried it for an hour, less than an hour, last year, because
So-
it's one of those games that came out on Game Pass.
Yes. It was one of the years to where it was like end of the year. People were talking about it. I want to try it out for the game of the year. I got stuck somewhere. You'll be happy to know I did not get stuck at the same spot. I just didn't. I wasn't patient enough to wait for them to show me how to do the double jump. That's exactly where I got stuck last time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know where to fucking go. I can't jump up there. It's fucking game. I'm like, you know what? I gotta look at other games.
There are plenty of ways to break this game to get over an obstacle like a double jump.
It was the end of the year thing to where I'm like, I'm trying 15 different games. I'm like, okay, I got the feeling for what this game is. I got it. We got it.
Okay.
So, can I tell you...
Okay.
Climb.
We were trying to guess where you quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can get some like sort of like Alex was saying. There's some like some speed running tech that you can do
sure.
in this game to like kind of get going. And I thought that the place that you quit would have been when the game makes you look up and you see all of the little rock bugs that you have to like use like move yourself along as they move along. I figured you would looked at that and said, I'm good, and then you went boop and turned it off.
Just fine, yeah.
No, not like you couldn't do it, but like you just looked at it, saw it, and was like,
There's a lot.
I'm not having fun. I'm good. And then you go.
Hey,
But
I am a known a climber game guy. Okay, grow up and grow home. I'm a very big fan of those games.
so that was actually one of my takes. Is that man?
Wait, we're not
there's
there. We are
Yeah,
not
yeah,
even there.
yeah.
yet.
Go ahead.
All
You're
right,
right. Always
so,
at the end.
We'll continue.
So Jusant,
No, sorry. What was it?
Excuse me?
it was Jusant.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wasn't
yes,
French
yes.
enough last time.
So we get into this.
It's just a sneeze.
When we start this game off It's a very pretty game. Essentially, the first chapter, I had the name of the chapter up. I think it's called Daybreak. Yeah, I'm not going to find it here. But yes, I think it was called Daybreak in chapter 1. We find our character, our protagonist, walking along this barren wasteland and looking up to this mountain that goes into, it's not even a mountain, it's a pillar, essentially. Like if the pillar was made out of a natural rock, almost like the Tower of Babylon, just out of rock. Goes all the way to the sky, as high as you can see. Now, Christian, I think you said girl. Do we, like, I thought it was a boy.
I thought
we
it was
don't
a boy,
really
but
know.
It's
the only
ambiguous.
reason I say girl,
They.
I think it's a non-binary situation.
Yes.
I just said girl because the voice actor.
Gotcha.
There is some
okay.
moments later on when you meet a companion. Well, let's say before you get there, but just there's a companion that you meet, and some of the noises, like the sort of like grunts that you're doing to like sort of like talk to it or whatever, so it's just it.
Fairly feminine.
It just sounds like like a woman. So.
It's a non-binary character. I got in my mind, but this is my own bias. I thought it was a young boy. But anyway, we're coming to this mountain, and we essentially start climbing. So our task is gained very quickly, which is we are going to make our way up this mountain. It is a very pretty game, very colorful game, but essentially what happens is we start to make our way up as we have climbing gear, and we are finding our path. And as we go up, we realize that at one time this mountain was incredibly inhabited. There are bars, there are shops, there are restaurants, there are people that worked on boats and sold goods, but now it is completely barren. And we aren't really given a task other than explore, so it seems like we're probably trying to find what has happened to this civilization. You can do it a few different ways. There's a lot of collectibles in this game. A majority of them seem to be on the main path. You can collect seashells at different places. You can collect cairns, where you put like a rock on top of a little pillar. You can collect frescoes, which might be the most hidden piece of this. The frescoes kind of light up and tell a little image story. And then you can collect data pads and messages, which this is what I found interesting about the beginning of this game. You're looking around, and you might come across a shop early on at the lower level, the base of this, and you see like boats, right? Like rusted out boats, or you see netting and stuff. But then you also find these messages on what seem to be some sort of like text message or handheld computer device. So I thought that was kind of, like a data pad. So I thought that was interesting. But as we essentially start climbing up the first part of the tower, and each new part of the tower so far will introduce a new mechanic, as well as change the biome a little bit and how you're going to climb. So we start off with just our rope. We carabine to things, and we climb up rocks, and we climb up paths. And there are dedicated paths. Like this civilization lived in this mountain, and they found a way to traverse up and down. There are like little metal ladders. There are like different elevator-based systems, and there are tons of places to attach our rope. So clearly the people that lived here traversed here all the time, and that's how they made their living. So yeah, that is our story. In chapter 1, you start to find some data pads that introduce other characters. Nobody that we've interacted with directly, but there's a couple different stories. The main one that I remember being is you encounter a lady who is, maybe like middle age, like our age, who finds a younger child that wants
Becca?
to. Becca, yeah, that
I think
that if I'm not mistaken, are they going up or are they going down in this data?
they're going up.
They're going up. And then they find an elderly person who she was like worried about because they might be too old to find their way up, but is like the most nimble of them. And it's this interesting dynamic of 3 different generations of people where the child is really easy and eager to climb up the mountain. The older person's the tenured and can find paths where you wouldn't think there were paths. And then her who just thinks like, I'm out of place here. We found some data pads. Some of the other ones are just generic, like they tell you about each level.
World
like,
building.
Yeah, or like the
World
room
building.
that you're in.
The room you're in, the shop that you're in, and so on. So we essentially make our way up through... Oh, am I back? Sorry, I may have paused something
you
for
are
a
already in
second.
Discord. So you're good.
Okay. So we eventually make our way to the first part of the chapter, the end of the chapter, where we get to a big tower, and we essentially have to get this mechanism moving. Nothing's crazy complicated. We get this mechanism moving, and this thing on the ground lights up, and it unlocks our next path. And right as we do, we find out that our character has been traveling with a companion. And it is the most adorable little big-eyed jelly blob frog that I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
And
It reminds me a lot of Kina in the Bridge of Spirits like characters.
Yeah, it's got like
Yeah.
these
Cute, tiny little
yeah,
squeakers.
it's huge eyes, just makes little like noises and stuff, and it pops out of your bag. And this is the moment I got excited and I got scared, and I have decided if anything happens
You're done.
to this hero of a character, not only am I done, Preston, oh no, I will go on a one-person campaign to have merch printed. I will go to speaking engagements of these devs. I will make sure no one ever plays
Stop
any
killing
of their
my pets.
games ever again.
So I had a
This
couple
character
thoughts
is the
during this.
hero. Anyway.
I had a couple of thoughts during this part. One was, as soon as I saw the character, I said, if this character has to sacrifice itself in any way to sort of fix this world in any sort of way, Alex will never let this go. Like,
I'll burn it
just-
down.
Yeah, just straight up. Second was, as soon as I got to that part and, everything sort of grows and does the stuff, when you blow the shell into the thing, I said, oh, this game is just flower and grow home.
So I never played Grow Home, but there is some flower aspect to it. So when we get to the top of this monument, you do like blow a seashell into this huge horn. But as your companion pops out, kind of makes a noise and gives out a sprinkle, if you will. I don't know what, like this little aura. And grass starts to grow on this barren mountain. And that's the first part. And that's where we kind of realize, like, I think we're
My man
trying...
can sprinkle.
Little sprinkle.
I think, and you can tell me what you think, what I gather is we are trying to bring... I think everybody's left the mountain. We're trying to bring life back to the mountain, and in hopes that people will maybe pilgrimage back.
I think you and your
to
little
it.
friend are probably just going to these civilized, or these places that were civilized or lived in, and they're like, okay, let's kind of repopulate this with like vegetation and stuff like that, so that way it's able to be brought back to civilization as far as people can now live here again.
It seems like the water is gone from this world.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's a letter later that's like,
Used to be
"Oh,
surrounded by water, for sure.
Well, so the Becca, the
tides
people
and
that we're
stuff.
following and stuff, one of them also finds one of these little guys. She talks about it in one of the letters. And they're like, they're beings made of complete water, like blah, blah, blah. They're found like way below the thing. I think that the idea is that if they, get all of these little sites on the mountain, you might be able to bring water back, which is why I say if this little guy has to sacrifice himself to bring the ocean back,
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
Alex will never forgive this game or this developer.
All right.
Humanity's not that great. It's fine.
All right. Yeah. Clearly people are living without it. So,
At least this person is.
And just so we know, just so we're clear, the name implies that there was water. Jusant.
Yeah.
Also, in French, it means low tide. So clearly,
Right.
we're in a period of low tide, and it even does that in some of the data pads. It says like 1 day after, or like 2 days after. So it kind of says like 1 day after low tide, and so on.
The other thing that I thought was interesting about this moment for me was that up until this moment, I was not under the impression that we were in a fantastical sort of world. Because before this, you don't see anything outside of the weird animals and stuff like
'cause
that.
that one shot like has you walking up and you see like just boats lying around. Like
Yeah,
you
crab,
see,
a crab at the very beginning.
But there was a moment where there's like a letter that you pick up and it's like, we have been waiting for this many cycles, and I was like, God, there's nothing I hate more. Like, I don't know why it's a nitpick of mine, but like when
Just say day. So, like,
just say yeah, thank you. Like, I'm just like, fuck, dude, just say day. You didn't lose the meaning of day. I'm sorry, you didn't. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's the most basic of basic terms. You didn't lose it, and you didn't need to replace it with cycles.
It's a sci-fi trope.
It is.
Cycle.
It's a sci-fi thing, and every single time it kills me because I'm like, unless there's no like way to tell about a day or anything like that, but I know that's not happening here. But it's like you just say day. You didn't lose the definition of that word.
Well,
it's
and they have the concept of clocks. Like in that first thing when you blow it, like the sun moves, it's a clock.
Yeah,
straight up. So yeah, I know.
Yep, we can still tell time, and we know what time it is, and that means it's a new day. We know what day it is. Stop doing this. We're good.
Yeah,
I hate, but then as soon as this little guy like pops out, I went, oh, we are not of Earth. Okay.
So here's the funny thing, and Christian, I don't know. Maybe you're like me. And first of all, let me preface by saying this. I'm a maniac who has gone through every game on my Steam Deck, played or not, and given it custom artwork. I've just done it. I have an app. It makes it really easy to do it.
Mental illness is what we're calling that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I didn't pay enough attention, but if you look close on my tile of the wall, the little blue guy has come out, like he's peeking out, but it's on Steam Deck, so like I wasn't really paying attention, so I didn't see it, I guess. So I'm the same way. I was like, oh, okay, like it's fantastical the fact there's a giant mountain, but everything else looks very human. And then he popped out and I was like, oh, okay.
So for me, I knew nothing about this game.
Yeah.
All I knew was that Preston tried it for a couple hours and then said, fuck this, and he backed out, and I was like, all right, well, fair enough. And that was really all I knew about it. I knew a mutual friend of ours really liked it, and that was about it. So, for this whole first chapter, you're just climbing, and there's no indication that this little blue guy is here. Mm-mm. And so I'm sitting there, and I was like, is this game just 6 hours of this? Because I was like,
4 hours.
Man. Sure, sorry, 4. But I was like, is this just 4 hours of this? Because... Whoa.
Oh boy, yeah.
Like not just bad, but like I just was like, man, this is like a drip feed of a story here, and there's only so many climbing things I'm gonna be able to do before I get to the end of this and be like, I'm done. Like I don't want to do
probably
this
why
anymore.
I bounced off. I'm like, I'm all right. I know where it's going to be climbing and reading notes. I'm like, I'm good. Did not get
Which
to the
is
blue
totally
guy.
fair.
Yeah.
But so then you see the blue guy, and I went, now this is making sense. And then again, my immediate thing was, this is flower and grow home. Okay. Right on. I get it. Fair enough.
So as you said, the first chapter is just climbing with the rope. And you haven't yet earned a double jump, but eventually you will get a jump where you just like you prep, so you kind of like lean back and you thrust yourself up, and then you just kind of wall kick up higher, like a real climber would do.
Clamber. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you clamber up. Preston, to that point, you can also like you have a very long rope, and then you can put little like pinions in different places. You have up to 3 pinions you can drop in.
Yeah, plus your original, so 4, but it's 3 after your first one.
3 after your first one. There were plenty of times I forgot about my double jump, or I never really figured out the double jump on how to actively use it well until later in the game, like around chapter 2.5 or 3, the beginning of 3. So there were plenty of times where if you're patient, you can break this game. Where I realized I could clamber up to the left and slam a pinion in the ground or in the wall, and then pendulum swing.
Yeah.
You just call Preston impatient? Is that what you just did? You just call him impatient?
And then I could slam it again, and I could kind of yo-yo around to get to where I needed to go. And then once you get a grab, you're like, oh, scramble up. Like, the climbing is pretty quick and easy. In chapter 2, they introduce a new mechanic now that we have our little cute buddy, where you can use to, if you press up on the D-pad, it sends out this like, is that called sparkle? This like array.
It's like
and
the journey thing.
It can make vines grow. right? It'll make vines grow up the wall, and you can use
It
these
returns
vines.
life to dead plants.
What I
Yes.
also liked about it is if you're in a very dark spot, it also illuminates that room that you're in.
It does.
It
So if you're in like a
does.
little hallway and you can't see shit, like boop, you're good.
Yep.
It also our little companion also helps us find our objectives, like secrets or where we're headed next. It'll perch on top of your head, which is
Yeah.
really adorable. It
So
shows
here's
you
the
in
thing, it
general
does
where
not
to
Work
I
look.
that
am a-
well.
I am. It doesn't, but I am
confusing.
a fan of the animation where
Yes.
it looks like this little guy is just completely absorbed into your head, and both of you were like, "Meh," like hypnotoad, just like doing. His eyes are kind of squinted closed, yours are closed, and you both are just a single consciousness.
Yeah.
Just.
And then did you guys explore with the different D-pad options?
I only know that. No, I know the two. I know the meditate and then
Okay.
the look,
So
and the burst.
yeah,
I
so
pressed the other
this
buttons,
is-
but nothing happened. I don't think.
It will. This was actually the moment where I decided I would never forgive this game if anything happens. I pressed one. I don't know which one I hit, but I pressed one of them. I started hitting buttons when our companion was out, and you interact with them. You hug him.
Yeah,
you actually get
do
an
a little
achievement.
pet. Yeah,
You get an achievement for hugging
I
him.
did that.
Oh, I
And
must have
that
done that then.
that was the real moment I decided. If anything happens, I will
Blorm.
never forgive.
If they're setting you up
anyone.
for this, yeah.
Yeah, if you're letting me hug this companion, like, look, if we get to the top and I return him to his family, all's fair in love and war, right? But like,
Goodbye, Blorby. Have fun.
Enjoy your
but
life. Yes.
but if we get to the top and like, in order for us to bring life
He
fully
just-
back,
dude,
he has
could
to
you imagine-
throw
I'm
himself
imagining-
into
just
a
jumps
pit.
off.
Yeah,
No. I'm thinking it's even worse. I'm imagining he's on your head and he just sort of floats up, and it's just like he goes to the middle and he's just like, yeah, dude, like an angelic float, and then it's just
explodes in the
and
water.
then it's just
Yeah.
blue and life just return.
Yeah.
Oh god.
We'll see what happens. But I'm
We could
I'm hoping,
have the first 0 on the podcast.
I'm hoping for the best. I'm preparing for the worst, and if it's the worst, it's not going to be pretty. So
Many
anyway,
emails will be written.
yeah. So the
Count
second
your
one.
fucking days, don't nod.
So the second chapter is where we introduce the frescoes with the vines and other stuff, and the frescoes seem to be more hidden, but they also seem to tell a bit more of the story. It's hard to interpret because there's no writing or anything with these frescoes. When you
Again,
come up,
very
you get the
Journey-esque.
sparkle.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, but
Journey.
see, Journey, I think that Journey does a better job of so far.
Well, Journey didn't have notes and stuff for you to read. Like it was more like that's how they told their story. The story you get in this one isn't the data pads and stuff, but you get this little image that kind of shows you like way back then. Like okay, obviously there's whales or there's this here.
Yeah.
There is, but there's still a lot left to interpretation on
Oh
those.
yeah,
Like
a
there's
lot.
there's
Yeah.
A lot
nothing
more than Journey did. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing that really tells you specifically what happened other than like there was life, this place was covered in water, the people found a way to like traverse the water. And then there's one other thing that I found twice so far. It started in chapter 2, I found one in chapter 3 that I don't understand, which is like the spinny
Like a
little
pillar,
like
you
chime.
spin it real quick
You can-
and it lights up the room and
And there's 3 of them. Like there's 3 you spin a pillar, you start at the bottom, you spin it, and then a second layer and a third layer kick in, and they spin together and create an image and send light. But I don't know what that does. And there's nothing indicating that like each, because you found one, because you found another, it's building. It just happens.
yep.
And everything else we find is tracked in our little like journal, and we can see what we've got, what we've missed. I don't know what that means.
The only thing that's actually showing you any progress outside of you going up is like when you get you find these conch shells and then you use them in certain areas to kind of like activate like the flourish of like bringing life here. You can see where you stand the nose that shows you each different one, and they will start lighting up based off of how many you have done. So that's the kind of only progress outside of going up that you have, I think.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I think there's gonna be a lot of this that's very interpretive. But yeah, in chapter 3, the mechanic they add after being able to grow the vines is they actually kind of add 2. They add a difficulty mechanic, which is the sun. The sun makes you get tired faster, and then it also withers plants. So you can use your blorb to grow plants to climb on.
Blorby.
Blorby, but the sun will decay those faster.
I think
so
the actual name is a ballast, is what they call
it,
it.
it is a ballast. You
But
are
but I
correct.
prefer Blorby now.
Sailing term.
Well, ballast is its species. Blorby is clearly its name.
Yeah.
So
We named it.
Clearly.
It's Blorby.
yes,
Yeah.
clearly. So they introduced that mechanic, and then that's the difficulty one. But then the other one they do is the spider rocks. I guess they're kind of like crabs or spiders. Something. They have a rock on their back, and
Rock
they're just
crabs.
rock crabs, and they're climbing on the wall, and you can hold onto them, and travel along and climb. I will say that's where we are, right? Like that's just where we are. That's the story, guys. I'm sorry. I know it's not a whole lot of story out there for you listeners. That's the story we have to this point.
But play it. It's a very short game if you're interested
So-
at all.
So, with that being said, if I just talk, I will say the one thing I appreciate, there's a couple things I appreciate about this game right off the bat is it looks gorgeous. The color, the world, the extra stuff around is beautiful. Blorby is adorable. Like you're really interesting too. Like I thought we had face paint, but the face paint kind of is it kind of reacts to Blorby's little like stuff, right? Almost magical sense.
The sweet shades that you have, they're just like the old school shades of like just a little slit cut out of your glasses. That's all you get.
That Inuits use in the snow for snowblind and stuff. It's brilliant. And then I really appreciated some of the climbing mechanics, like the rock spiders or rock crabs. When you hang on to one, they slow down. The one you're on slows down, then the others will pass. You can grab them and go faster. But if you hang on too long,
imagine when
they
you
get
grab
tired
one,
too.
it's like, what the fuck? Like,
So I really appreciated that. Like, there's a lot of this game that is incredibly detailed in the world that you're in and incredibly polished.
mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that, one thing I found interesting is the main mechanic of the game is climbing, and there's plenty of the sole game mechanic that's not polished. Like, I found myself being able to clamber up pretty well. If I saw a clear delineation of, like, rocks and stuff, I could boom, 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 move up it. But there are also other times where, like, I can swing real far and, like, bump into something, and then, like, the rope doesn't know what to do, or my model doesn't know what to do, or, like, it can get hung
I want
on
to jump off the
something.
rope here because I know I can make it. It's like, well, the game doesn't think you can make it, so it's not going to let you jump off the rope right now.
Right.
yeah, I've had some issues where my thing is a little bit different, where there's like areas, especially in the beginning when you get the rope, where you go, well, I bet if I have this pinned to the wall, like I can jump. I bet I can make it over here. And you got to do it, and you do make it over there, and then there's nothing there, and you go,
Yeah.
there wasn't really any reason for this then, right? Like that's
So have
silly
you,
for me.
what kind of area, like, have you found areas with nothing to them?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really, like, anywhere I've been that I think I can make it over there, like, whether it's way
Even
up, and
small
I can
pathways
make it
that
there.
just like, oh,
Yeah,
there's
there's-
like dead end.
I
Okay,
typically
well,
find, I've typically found, like, a data pad or a rock or a shell or
That
a
does happen sometimes.
something.
The one, like, so the first one that happened to me was when you're running up the that first like little intro tower where you find like the first note, right? Like it's like you are going up. It's like the big square building. When you get up to the second level of that, when you first find like the little rats, like the little bubble rats or whatever.
Yeah.
Off the side, there's like a separate tower that you can like run and jump to and like land on. That's like a little bit below you, and you can run and jump to it. If you get in there, there's nothing in there. It's just a room. Like, it's just a room that somebody had off the side of this tower for some reason. Not a big deal. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
It was just one of those
interesting.
things where I'm like, I bet I could make that, and then I go to do it, and then the game's like, yep, and you're like, okay. That was silly. I didn't need to do this. Like, you could have just not had this here. But that's like little. It's not even like a real complaint. It was just something that I found interesting, where you're just like, you get over there and you're like, I bet I could do that. I bet there. I think I've played enough video games that I bet something's hidden over there. And you get over there and you're like, nope, guess not. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't run into that too much. I feel like everywhere I found something, even if it's like I don't know what to call it. I've been calling them in my brain street lamps. There's these weird little like street lamp shaped things you can pull down that essentially create shortcuts to come
Yep,
back.
it's just shortcuts.
Right?
Yeah, to come back to later. Yep.
But
So
I feel
bet
like
you can bring Blorby back to other things. And
yeah, but that's what I kind of feel like. Like I feel like I've found something everywhere.
For the most part, I do. There's just been, like I said, there's just been a couple times where you just go in, like Preston was, but there's like some dead end paths that you can go to that you're just like, okay.
Yeah. With that being said, like I appreciate they put 90% of everything on the main path that I've noticed, except for some of the frescoes. But also there is a lot of stuff to collect. Like my two favorite things to collect are definitely the frescoes and the seashells, because the seashells kind of give you like a snapshot in the past.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like stacking the rocks and the cairns, they don't really do much, right? Like and some of the other things, like the data pads are fine, but they do a lot of lore.
They do.
Or I guess not even a lot of lore. They do a lot of text. Period. Like sometimes you're just like reading and they're just going and going and going. I'm like, this is a lot, guys. Like,
there was one that they were talking about, like his newspaper wasn't getting delivered anymore, and it was like a feedback form for the newspaper. Whatever.
Yes.
I'm like,
he's like, it used to be 3 times a week, and now it's like then it went down to 1 time a week, then 1 time a month, and now not at all. And it's like, okay.
Let me ask you a question. Who here tried to knock down the cairns?
Not me. Why would you try and knock him down?
yeah, I never tried to knock him down. I did
It's
try
a
to
pile
jump.
of rocks. Why wouldn't you walk by and give a little
Dude,
nudge?
here's the thing. All right, we now know what type of
No, because I played Jedi fucking Survivor, and they have the cairns where you knock them down and you get trophies for knocking them down.
Preston walks by kids on the beach and sees their sandcastle and
Fuck
just
them kids.
punts it into the stratosphere. He's like, what was I gonna do? Not kick over this fucking sandcastle?
Preston would go out to like a Washington or Oregon on a hike, and you would see like multiple things of those that people have stacked because one person did, everybody did, and he would just bowl them all over. He's like, stupid.
Yeah.
How are you gonna build it if you don't want to be knocked down?
I think it's kind of. I think
that's actually the whole point of building is that they build buildings so that they don't get knocked
knock them down.
It's usually, as far as our history is concerned, it's usually a big deal when a building gets knocked down.
In fact,
buildings.
In fact, we are so as a culture anti knocking buildings down that there's a child's parable about 3 little piggies and a wolf trying to knock buildings down, and then
how
the whole
uncool it is that he's doing that,
and how they find materials to not let you knock it down.
He's gotta eat.
Wolf's gotta eat, man.
Yeah. Shoot or shoot, and he just kicks this kid's sandcastle over.
No, I did not try and knock them down.
No, I did try to jump though in the beginning. I was like, "There's no fucking way," and then it was like it stops you. But if you have a hook, it will let you go wherever. Like,
same. So I on the very first tower when I got more than 50 feet off the ground, I was like, well, let's go ahead now and test the bounds of this video game. And I ran towards the end and jumped, and I hit an invisible wall. And at first I was like, okay, well, that's nice. But then at the same time I was like, well, I mean, kind of should let me do it.
I was fine because there is a little bit of clunkiness to the controls.
It'd be very frustrating if you could.
That if if I was pulling myself up and I'm at the very, very edge of my stamina, and then it's like boop and just lets go, and then I just like fall back to the beginning of the game. Yeah, I'm not.
But you wouldn't fall. You wouldn't fall back at the beginning because you're tied in, right? Like you would just fall and hang.
That's what I'm saying. But if I wasn't tied in, like because you were saying like let me just try and run and do it. Yeah. Had you done that, you would have fallen all the way down and had to start over.
No, right. I don't think you should have done that. I think you could have handled it as like a hey man, you died, and then it kind of like fades back in and you're walking back to where you were, right? Games have fixed that. I just think there's part of it you should have let me learn.
Just unalive this child and Blorby.
That's before I knew I had Blorby. Now it's protect Blorby at all costs.
You jump and the blue thing, like Blorby looks back at the camera and you scream, you're like reaching for the screen. No! Just like trying to pause, hit exit. Alt F4, just like trying to close it.
Don't
I can just imagine the way they animate that is to let you know, like you jump and the air blows your bag open and then it just like slides out the top of your backpack.
You see it got big bug eyes, like no.
It like looks back like, why would you do this? It woke up from its nap
and
it's just like I'm just flying in the air. Blurby, no!
We would have come back for this episode, and I would have been like, so I didn't finish the game.
Yep, I uninstalled it. I actually refunded the purchase so you guys don't have it anymore.
And we're gonna pick a different game.
Yeah. So anyway, the new game is Black, and that's what we're playing.
Yeah. So anyway, your general thoughts. Mine, so far, I'm fine with chill games like this. I'm fine with a slow story drip. I think the game is interesting enough and short enough, which is key here, that I am interested to see how it goes and how it ends. I mean, we did 3 chapters. We only have 3 left. What happens with our protagonist and Blorby, and what happens when we bring life back to this mountain. I'm excited to see what happens, but I do think from a technical side of things, like I'm actually really impressed, because the one thing we haven't talked about is the real mechanic of the climbing is the left-right trigger. Your right trigger moves your right hand, your left trigger moves your left hand. So you're actually going like trigger.
So when we talk about go home and grow up, I'm not saying that's where this came from, but that is pretty much how you play that game.
That is how it. Yeah.
Grab.
Okay, interesting.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like so far it's fine. My thing is going to be how long does this game, like, do I get to the point by the end where I feel like it's overstayed its welcome? Like,
right.
From a mechanics perspective, right? Like as you get to the higher parts, it's every chapter it feels like so far they're going to introduce a new wrinkle, whatever that is, right?
Right.
By the time I get to chapter 6, do I feel like, you know, yikes, like I'm done and this is a bit, like Preston was saying, it's a bit much? Or do I feel like it's fine? Or like, because here's what I hope they do is take mechanic away, add new mechanic, but you're always like juggling a couple things. But if they keep stacking to the point where at the last climb I'm dealing with
you're making the vine grow.
I'm doing the plant stuff. The plants are dying. I have to be quick. I have to do the bug stuff. And then I also have to do whatever other 3 new things happen. I'm going to be like, hey, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, stop doing this. Again, we have no idea. But yeah, it'll all, as far as this game is concerned and the adventures of Blorby Booberry, I hope that it just doesn't overstay its welcome.
Blorby Booberry.
Yeah. That's his full government name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Preston?
I mean, I like it. I'm glad I got past that little small part that I just kind of ignored.
The first 15 minutes of the game.
It's literally like the first like half an hour of the game. But I remember doing that. I remember the exact spot too, because they have that note that's like pinned to the wall. You can drop down to a section right there. And I was sitting there, I was swinging on my rope. I was doing all this crazy shit. I'm like, why? What the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I spent like probably a good half an hour, 45 minutes just in that spot, figuring out what I'm supposed to do. When I could have just grabbed the ledge, given it a second, and be like, hey, double jump right here. I'm like, oh.
I imagine that when you pulled up and you recognized it, Doom 16's Rip and Tear started playing. It's like, all right, motherfucker, it's you and me this time. I will conquer you.
Yeah, I'm sitting there like, where did I mess up? I'm like, okay, this is clearly why.
Alex is going to make me do this, so god damn it, I'll get past it.
I would have Googled like a walkthrough or something like that if I couldn't figure out where to go, but no, it's I got through it, and I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm a big fan of like the grow up and grow home games, which is a lot of that mechanic of grabbing with the right and left triggers.
Yeah.
Grow home and like that kind of stuff. They don't require you to have like those little pieces of rock to grab. It's like, no, you can do that to any surface, climb up
of the plant.
Yeah, of the plants, and then you can just kind of go that way. So it's good. I'm enjoying myself. The world building's a lot of fun. I'm just hoping I'm not missing anything. I don't like the whole like use.
That was French. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Sounded right. I don't like using like Blorby for like. I don't like using Blorby for like to find your objective, because it has like 3 different colored circles. It's not like, hey, go down this path.
They don't tell you what circles are.
It's not like a little dot somewhere to show you where to go next.
I think
one is the murals.
I think green might be the critical path, and blue is the murals, I think.
No, because then there's red. I think red is critical path.
Oh, I haven't noticed red.
I know that
red
one
is critical path.
Definitely one of them shows you those 2 sections. Yeah.
Green is like I think green is like shortcut, or I'm not sure.
I don't use it. I don't use it for that
Yeah, it might be
either.
the shells actually.
Preston, I don't use it either, to be honest, because what I've realized
confusing.
there's
It's
a
not
bunch
that
of
hard to find the path.
Yeah, there's a bunch of paths you could take that all lead to critical, and what I've realized is if you see something, 9 times out of 10 the game's gonna take you there, right?
Yeah.
And then like if you see something that looks hidden, it's probably fresco.
Yeah.
Can I say, by the way, the only thing that I found funny is there's a part in I think the second chapter when it's like you're inside an inner cave, and you're on your way to the third chapter. God, the main character can really fucking huck this goddamn rope across.
Yeah, like way on
way
a dime.
far, and then just lock it in. You're like, God damn, fucking sniper. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. There's one thing that I also found very intriguing and charming about this game, which is I saved and quit, right, to main menu. And main menu drops you at the chapter, like wherever you are. So if I quit and it goes to my main menu and say continue on, that just slides off the side and my character stands up like he had a campfire and just starts walking right where
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what the new Indiana Jones game does. Yeah.
It was
like that style.
good design. Just good
That's
design.
stylish.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
I get down with that.
So, but yeah, that's it. I know I think the next chapter as well, or the next playthrough is going to be a lot of discussing just general our adventures with Blorby, and then of course the new mechanics. But yeah, if you are playing along, it's a very short game. It is intriguing. I think it's still on Game Pass, so if you have that, you can play for
Super
free.
cheap if not. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not long. So thanks for hanging out with us this week. We only have one more part. It's only a 2-parter. Quick and easy. I wanted
And then
something
we'll see
chill.
what Preston's next game is.
Everyone should know, but if you don't know, you will find out next week.
Everyone should know. Have you previewed? Have you told us? Did I just block it out of my
Yeah.
head?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's righting past wrongs with this next pick.
I am.
All right. Cool. I don't remember, so it's going to be a surprise to me. I'm very excited. So thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. If you haven't gone back to listen to this week's prologue, take a listen. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. With that, Preston, you know what to do.
Oh.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.